Well, hey, CR Youth, I am so excited to be here with you tonight. If we haven't had the chance of meeting just yet, my name is Jessie. I'm the lead of our youth department here at Crossroads. And really what that means is I get to work alongside your awesome youth pastors and youth leaders to do what we do here each and every week at CR Youth. And tonight, as we jump into our message, I just have a quick question. And I just need you to raise your hand if this applies to you. Raise your hand if you love a plan, if you love to be prepared for something, if you love to know the expectation when you're walking into a new situation. Just raise your hand. Now, I imagine every hand is raised because we as people love to feel like we have an expectation of the situations we're stepping into. And tonight, I want to tell you a story about a time I got more or less thrown into a situation I was not prepared for by any means. And this story takes place my junior year of high school. For those of you in middle school that maybe don't know like the ranking, it's 11th grade. I was halfway through high school and I just decided to join a new sport. I decided I want to be on the track and field team and I think that it would be fun. So I signed up. I go to practice and I say, hey, I'm not here to run. I just want to throw some stuff. So I decided to be on the throwing team. And so ultimately what that means is like we throw this thing called a shot put, which was like, it looks like a little cannonball. We would throw that. And then we'd throw this like thick frisbee called a discus. So that's what I did. And I really liked it. And I was surprised that for like it being a new sport, I actually caught it pretty quickly or threw it pretty quickly. Okay, sorry. But I loved the sport because I got to be on a team, we got to weightlift together, we got to work on technique, and I didn't have to run very much. I think that's the thing I hate about sports the most, is having to run. And so I signed up for a sport that was kind of stationary. And so we would warm up with the rest of the track team at the beginning of practices, but then we'd go do our thing. And all was going well. I liked the season. I loved the sport. But that all changed when we got to our final meet of the year. And this was the last one. A lot was riding on it. Our school was doing well, and I wanted us to win. And so if you're not familiar with like track and field, everybody's doing their thing all at the same time. So throwers are throwing, jumpers are jumping, runners are running. Everybody's kind of just doing their thing. So the throwers threw. We did our thing, and then we joined the rest of our team, and sometimes there's like little tents, and so we went and sat down. I took my shoes off, I put my Crocs on, I was getting comfortable, and everything was good until all of a sudden, over the loudspeaker, I heard, "Throwers to the track! Throwers to the track for your last race!" What do you mean my last race? I've never run a race in my life. Why are they calling me to the track? Throwers don't belong on the track. I was very frustrated and confused. And so I look up at my coach and I go, what are they talking about? And he goes, I forgot to tell you. There's one more race, and it's the most important race of the night. And if you win or fail will determine how the school does in the meet. And so, overwhelmed, I just grabbed my shoes and I followed my authority and I went to the track and I'm like putting my shoes on and then I get ready in like ready position for a 4x1. Now, I don't know what starting position is. I didn't know what a 4x1 is, so I'm like squatting down asking my coach, like, what am I supposed to do here? So I learned a 4x1. There's 4 runners for like the full track. So I would run like 1/4 of the track and then I'd hand over a baton and then the other throwers would have to do the same thing. So I'm squatting down, I'm feeling overwhelmed and everybody's getting in starting position and then all of a sudden my coach says, "Oh, we actually don't have batons. So you're not passing batons. What I need you to do is you're going to chug a pop, then you're going to run, and then the next runner is going to chug a pop, and then they're going to run, so on and so forth." Which feels weird for a really important race, but I'm not a runner. So this might be a normal thing. So we get, again, squatting, ready to go. The gun goes off, and then I stand up, and I like chug a pop. So I really didn't need to be in starting position, but I chugged the pop and the pop is just like running down the side of my face. I only maybe drank like half of it. I threw it on the ground and then I just started running as fast as I could. It probably looked like a light jog from the side. So I'm running, and I go to my next person. They chug a pop, they run, so on, so forth. We get done with the race. Out of 8 teams, we got in like 3rd place, which is fine out of 8. But like we were doing really good that season. So I remember like putting my head down, walking up to my team and being like, "Sorry guys, I just blew it. We didn't win. And now now our school's the laughing stock of the whole district. And I see like everybody's laughing. My coach is smiling. And I found out that race literally meant nothing. My coach said, sorry, Jess. It actually was just a fun race. We wanted to see the throwers have to run at least one race in the year. It really didn't mean anything. Bro, I was so frustrated. I thought it was literally everything. So I'm going to the field or the track feeling the weight on my shoulders. I was not prepared. I was not trained. I was not ready, but I just got thrown into something and I thought it was super important. I thought it was a real deal, real situation. And I think that feeling that I had in that moment, frustration and like overwhelming and like not feeling prepared, is something that we can oftentimes feel in different parts of our lives. Like sometimes you're stepping into a new subject in school, a new job. Maybe you've moved recently and you're in a new community. Like stepping into new without expectation or preparation is overwhelming. And unfortunately, sometimes stepping into our relationship with Jesus can kind of feel the same. We're stepping into a new thing where it feels like everybody else is the expert of, and you feel like you might not have the right tools or the right preparation or the right gear or the right knowledge to do it. And as your youth pastors, it's our job to prepare you and give you everything that you need to run the race that God has on your life. And so, because we want your faith to not just be a seasonal, a one-time, we want it to be like a literal forever thing, we are closing up this school year in a series that we're calling Run Your Race. We want to help you have the tools, the mindset, the moments with God so that you can run a race with Jesus for the rest of your life. And so to help kind of pull out some of that whiplash you might be experiencing stepping into faith or like really locking into your relationship with God, I need you to understand this first thing here. You are running a race. You are running a race. Now, this isn't like a competition of who gets to the finish line first. It's about running the race that God has for you. And the book of Hebrews talks about this. I want to read this to you. Hebrews 12, verse 1, it says this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run, everyone say run, with endurance the race, everyone say race, God has set before us. So your fill in the blanks there are run and race. So if we are running a race of faith, what kind of race are we running? Well, there's a couple different races we could be running. So is our race a sprint? Is it a relay? Or is it a marathon? Well, let's break these things down. The first one, sprint. It's running at absolute maximum speed for a short distance. Relay. An event in which 4 participants work as a team to reach the finish line. And our last one, marathon, a long distance running race. Okay, so if we're talking about our faith here, which one do you think it is? Is it like running really quick for a short amount of time? Is it a group project with a relay? Or is it a long distance running race? I think you know the answer. It's a marathon. Our race, when it comes to our faith, is a marathon. And if you're not familiar with like marathon speak, I wasn't either. I had to do some research for this. A marathon is 26.2 miles. That's a very long run. And when people decide to jump into a marathon, they don't just like decide one day, I'm going to do this. Well, maybe they do, but that's not going to be somebody that is successful in their marathon. People train over time. They put energy and effort. They do training and preparation. They get their body and their mind and their spirit and their soul ready for what this is going to be. It's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult. But the preparation is really important. And if we're talking about our faith being a marathon run, that means that this is going to be a long journey that we need to prepare ourselves for. And so as your youth pastors, over the next this week, next week, and the following week. We want to give you the tools that you need to run the marathon of faith. So the first thing we're going to look at tonight is an essentials kit. We're going to literally lay out what you need to start your race. Now, some of you have been following God, and you've already been on your race, but sometimes you can acquire tools along the journey. For some of you, you're new to faith completely, and this is so helpful. And for others of you, you're still not sure about this whole faith thing. And I hope that what we talk about tonight makes faith a little bit more understandable. So I'm going to give you an essentials kit. Next week, we're going to talk about endurance because endurance is huge in a long run. And then at one night, we're going to talk about comparison because comparison will kill your race. So I think it's time for us to get into our essentials kit. So the Marathon of Faith Essentials Kit. This is what you need. Now you're like, hey, Jess, I actually think that's what you need to run a literal race. Well, I need you to know that these are just there to represent things that we're going to break down. So we're going to break down each of these. We're going to start number one with the most important thing that a person needs when they're racing, shoes. Everyone say shoes. Yes. Shoes are so important because shoes are literally the foundation of your race. They're so important that people think very methodically, meaning they put a lot of intention and time into the shoes that they wear. People do a lot of research. They try different shoes out, and ultimately they pick one pair of shoes that they break in, meaning that they run in them before they get to the marathon. You would be crazy to jump into a marathon with brand new shoes. You get blisters, your balance might be off, you literally might roll or break your ankle. It's not a good idea. I did some research that you need to probably break in your shoes. It takes about 4 to 6 months. Prior to your marathon, you should put about 25 to 100 miles on those shoes because your shoes need to acclimate to your feet and your feet to your shoes so that your foundation is not off. You're probably following where I'm leading here, but your foundation is so important when it comes to running the race of faith. And so what is that foundation? It's knowing God and knowing how to connect with him. It's knowing what the Bible is, how to use the Bible, how to read the Bible. It's knowing the truths about God, knowing some theology things. I'm not saying you need to be an expert, but knowing like, why do we need salvation? How did God create the world? How did sin impact our lives? How do we be saved from our sin? Like stuff like that is foundational and so important. But it's also knowing like who you are in God. It's knowing your identity in him. You don't need to be a professor of theology. You don't need to know all of the doctrine of God or even the doctrine of our church here. But you do need to have a foundation of knowledge in him and experience and know how to seek that out. The foundation is so important. And we read about that in the book of Psalms. Psalms 27:4 says this, "The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfection and meditating in his temple." This feels like a lot. And maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's some like big words in here, but I want to explain just what this means. The author of Psalms is saying, I want to know God, so I'm going to seek him out to live in his house the rest of my life. Not just my life here on earth, but in heaven. And so to do that, I need to delight. I need to think about the Lord. I need to meditate. I need to process who God is so that I can know him. This speaks to us creating a foundation that lasts forever. Everyone say forever. Okay, our next one that we're getting into, number 2, is gear. What you wear really matters in a race. It really does. I mean, there's just a Boston Marathon, big deal. And people did not show up to that race in a snowsuit. That would be crazy. No, they considered what they were going to wear to this race. A snowsuit would be a terrible idea because it's heavy, it's hot, it's uncomfortable. And so when racers are getting ready for a marathon, they are thinking through every single item of clothing. Are the shorts gonna like rub and give me blisters? Is the shirt that I'm wearing light enough? And is it supportive enough? Even like somewhere like armbands, is that gonna like cause like me discomfort? The socks that they wear to even like the weight of the clothing that they wear. They are thinking through every single ounce, every single item. They're being very particular. because they don't want a lot of weight, because they have to carry that weight for almost 30 miles. And so for us, if we're going to run this race of faith, we have to consider and think, what is weighing us down? Maybe even asking the question, what is holding us back? And there are several things that I've listed here, and they might not be exactly on your list of things in your life, but I want to read off some of them. What might be holding you back? Is it your past? Is it your current sins or struggles? Is it unhealthy habits or doubts, insecurities or fear, or unforgiveness? If you're trying to follow Jesus the rest of your life, what is holding you back? Could be shame, or it even could be positive things, which is crazy. It could be your sports. It could be your academics. Not that those aren't important, but if that is all consuming everything that you do, it could be holding you back. And so for the negative things in our life, we need to take that weight off. And in Hebrews 12, we talked about this earlier. It says this, let us strip off every weight. Everyone say weight. Every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. What we hold on to, what we wear, what we carry will hurt us in the long run. And if we want to run a race that lasts, sometimes we got to strip some of that stuff off. Okay, our next thing, number 3, is headphones. Every racer that I've ever seen in my life has some form of headphones in their ears. And they do this for many reasons, but the main reason is for their focus, for their mindset. They pick out songs that are certain BPMs, which is beat per minute, which is literally the pace that they want to run. It helps them keep a consistent pace through the whole marathon. Sometimes they add songs that are inspirational, motivational. Sometimes they add songs that literally distract them from the pain that their body is in. Racers that run marathons are considering what is going into their ears and what is impacting their focus. We need to do the same. We need to be aware and conscious of what is going into our ears, what is impacting our mindset and impacting our focus. We have to be aware of that. Because the things that people say about us, we start to believe. Because the things that people might say about our faith, about Jesus, about church, sometimes those things can be negative and really impact if we want to keep running on the race. But for us to stay locked onto Jesus, we also have to keep that in our brain. We have to hear it and fall into it. And the book of Philippians talks about this. Philippians 4:8 says this, now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing, fix. Everyone say fix. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Think about those things. Locking your brain into the correct thing will help you sustain it. There's oftentimes in our lives, we have to have mind over matter. And in our faith, sometimes we can look at situations we're in. We can look at the devastation of the world. We can be so discouraged by what we see around us that we can think, is it worth to keep going? And we have to fix our eyes on the good stuff, on God, what's honorable, what's true. And not that we need to close our eyes to everything happening, but we cannot let it consume us or we will not continue to run this race. All right, I got one last thing, and this thing is so important. Turn to your neighbor right now and say, this is so important. Okay, and it's this, hydration. If you are running, you need to stay hydrated or you will literally get dehydrated and your muscles will spasm or they'll tense up and you can't keep running the race. If you do not stay hydrated, you cannot continue on the race. And here's the thing that's a little difficult for runners is, like I said, in the gear category, you don't want to carry too many heavy things. So oftentimes in these marathons, nobody's carrying water bottles on them. And so they're living literally for these things called hydration stations. Everyone say hydration station. Okay, perfect. And what this is just essentially a bunch of tables with Dixie cups full of water. And so the runners, every 1.5 to 3 miles, will run by, they'll grab a Dixie cup, and they'll drink the water. And this is so pivotal. If you do not stay hydrated, your body will not be fueled, and you cannot continue on the race. This is true about your faith. You cannot keep your faith going if you do not hydrate and fuel yourself. If your body does not have the nourishing that it needs, if your soul does not get what it needs. And in a marathon, if there's only one hydration station at mile 15, no runners would make it. That's why they need continual moments of fueling up. And our faith needs that too. So that means we need to lock in daily. And that doesn't mean you have to do it perfectly, but having moments of prayer and moments of worship and getting into the Bible as much as you can. And I know we say this a lot, but it's literally the fuel that your soul needs. So it's doing that daily. It's having weekly check-ins, coming to youth, coming on Sundays, going to your FCA or your different Bible studies that you might be a part of. Those things are so good and help you to fuel yourself. Don't just wait for mile 15. Don't just wait for winter whiteout. Don't just wait for fall rally. Don't just wait for moose thinking that will sustain you. It won't. And what I think is cool about these hydration stations is that it's not just like cups of water, but there's volunteers there cheering them on. And when we come to youth group, when we come to church, not that every time you walk in, people are going to be like, great job, keep going. But you're going to be encouraged that you're doing this alongside people. In a marathon, there are thousands of people running their race as well. And so though your race might look different than the person next to you, you are not in it alone. So you got to clock in. You got to get your moments of hydration. And we read about this in the book of Isaiah. It talks about the power that we receive when we clock in with God. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. You need moments to connect with God, to stay hydrated, to get fueled up, because it is a long race to run. It's a marathon. It's your life. And our prayer for you is that you have a big, long, beautiful life, and that you follow Jesus through every season of it. So if I could boil down my whole kit to you right here and get to the main point of this message, it would be this. To run your race, you gotta have the right foundation, the right focus, and the right fuel. You have to have the right foundation, the right focus, and the right fuel. And that is the essentials kit. I know it feels simple, but sometimes we make things so much more complicated than they need to be. And so tonight, I want you to consider, which essential do I need to add to my kit? What things do I need to take off? And where can I refocus? And what's great is we're going to talk about this in our small groups tonight and discuss what this literally can look like for you. And I want to encourage you, if you're a part of CR Youth, please, please, please join us back next week and the following week as we give you the next steps to run the marathon of faith that God has for you. So to close up our time together, I'm going to pray. Jesus, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for the ability to learn from the book of Hebrews about this race, to get the right essentials kit, and to set ourselves up for success. And if there are students in the room that are still not sure how to practically make these steps in their lives, would you give them great conversations in small group? God, would you help us to encourage each other along? Because though it's not a relay race we're all running our own race alongside of other people. Would we be encouraging? Would we lock our focus on you and ultimately make the steps we need to take to run a marathon that will last the rest of our lives? So Lord, we love you. We thank you. We pray these things in your name. Amen.